Today is day 325 of the October 7th war. It has been more than 24 hours since Hezbollah mobilized to fire hundreds of missiles into Israel's cities, an assault that Israel's air force foiled at the last minute before Hezbollah could cause massive destruction. Hezbollah did manage to fire more than 200 rockets into Israel and 20 suicide drones. An Israeli soldier aboard a naval vessel was killed from shrapnel from the Iron Dome missile defense system protecting Israeli civilians. But the damage to the Israeli home front was far less than Hezbollah hoped before Israel thwarted that imminent attack. On social media, Arabs mocked Hezbollah. They noted that while Israel has targeted senior Hezbollah leaders, all Hezbollah managed to strike yesterday was a chicken coop in Israel. Many Arabs in the Middle East, leaders and regular citizens, understand the threat of the Iranian regime and its proxy armies to regional and global security. I was interviewed just yesterday on Saudi TV, and we spoke about how Lebanese people are against Hezbollah dragging their country into a needless war, all for the sake of Hezbollah's warlord patrons in the Islamic Republic. You know who doesn't seem to understand? Top Western diplomats. The Secretary General of the United Nations should resign immediately. His leadership is a total failure. Hezbollah, a terrorist army holding the state of Lebanon hostage, declared a war on October 8th against Israel, a democratic state and a member of the United Nations. And Antonio Guterres has remained neutral at best. In the case of Hamas, no UN Secretary General has gone further to secure the survival of a terrorist organization, and the same is happening here. This is what he tweeted. "I'm deeply concerned by the increase in exchanges of fire across the blue line. These actions put the Lebanese and Israeli populations at risk and they threaten regional security and stability. I call for immediate de-escalation and appeal to the parties to return to a cessation of hostilities." De-escalation doesn't go far enough. De-escalation takes us back to Hezbollah's illegal presence on Israel's border on October 6th. An October 6th reality means a danger of another October 7th and another October 8th when Hezbollah joined Hamas's war. Guterres should demand the implementation of UN Security Council Resolution 1701 and publicly call on Hezbollah to back off. Guterres doesn't call on Hezbollah to disarm. He doesn't condemn Hezbollah for attacking Israel, as it has been doing daily since October 8th when it joined the war Hamas started. He doesn't call on Hezbollah to back off from the Israeli border. He doesn't even mention Hezbollah by name. After Israel stopped Hezbollah from burning Israeli cities, he said he was deeply concerned by the increase in exchanges of fire. Excuse me? Iran's proxy army aiming hundreds of missiles at Israeli cities? That's concerning. Israel stopping those terrorists at the last minute? That's a relief. Why be the leader of the United Nations if you have no interest in upholding its principles and its own resolutions? The reaction from other Western leaders was also disappointing. The EU Foreign Policy Chief, Josep Borrell, rightly called for the implementation of UN Security Council Resolution 1701. But he didn't actually say what that means. It calls on Hezbollah to disarm and back away from the border. And he didn't mention Hezbollah by name. British Foreign Secretary David Lammy said all parties must work to prevent an escalation in conflict across the Middle East. Again, didn't mention Hezbollah by name, let alone condemn Hezbollah. Journalists also published some laughable headlines. Dominic Waghorn from Sky News published analysis for Sky News with the headline, "Israel will say it had no choice, but its airstrikes in Lebanon risk igniting a regional war." The opposite is the case. Hezbollah's imminent missile attack was a major escalation in the war that Hezbollah joined on October 8th. Since then, Hezbollah has fired 7,000 rockets and drones into Israel. Israel taking action against that imminent threat isn't inflammatory. It's putting out the flames. Iran's proxy army Hezbollah is a major threat to international peace and security. The world must make it clear. Hezbollah must back off, or Israel has every right to push it away and get its people home to safety. World leaders can't bring themselves to name Hezbollah, and I think I know why. Because if they call out Hezbollah by name, if they call it an Iranian proxy army, if they call out its unprovoked aggression against Israel, they'll be admitting there is a massive security threat that Israel has a right and obligation to address. But they don't want to prepare their publics for Israeli military action against Iran's proxy armies. So it's easier to try to sweep the issue under the rug. They don't want it to be their problem. But the Islamic Republic of Iran and its proxy armies are their problem. Hezbollah itself says its real war is against the United States and Israel is just a tool. And the world needs to wake up before it's too late. October 7th was the opening shot of Iran's regional war against Israel on 7 fronts. Every day, Israel is fending off attacks from Iran's proxy armies on 7 fronts. Just yesterday, Israel was attacked from several directions, not just from Lebanon. Did you hear about it? Hamas fired a long-range rocket from Khan Yunis to the central Israeli city of Rishon LeZion. That's 50 miles. Luckily, the rocket struck an empty field, but the boom was heard throughout Tel Aviv. The IDF targeted the launcher in Gaza. There were secondary explosions after the IDF strike, which means that there were even more rockets hidden in the area. Israel is breaking Hamas on the battlefield. But Hamas continues to fight the war it started on October 7th, when it invaded Israel by air, land and sea, when it sadistically massacred 1,200 Israelis, and when it ripped 251 hostages from their families, throwing them in the terror dungeons. They're still holding 109 hostages, including a baby. Also yesterday, the IDF intercepted a suicide drone from Syria. Earlier yesterday, Iran-backed militias in Iraq said that they launched suicide drones into Israel, and a ship is still on fire in the Red Sea from attacks by Iran's Islamic pirates, the Houthis. Do you see a pattern here? Iran has established a ring of fire around Israel on 7 fronts: Gaza, the West Bank, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, and Iran itself. 8, including attacks on Jews in the diaspora. Everyone who cares about the future of humanity, the future of peace, the future of security, should stand up with Israel as it stands up to Iran's aggression. Iran wants to light the Middle East on fire and watch it burn. Everyone needs to do their part to put out the fires. That's what Israel is doing. Tell the truth about the Iranian regime. Tell your leaders to tell the truth about the Iranian regime. Call out those bad actors by name. Stand up to anyone who cannot tell simple truths about the barbaric enemies that Israel faces. The future of humanity is at stake.